Hello, I might as well go live because look at this right here. Trying to get my car clean. And you're probably saying it's going to get dirty anyway. I know, but I have OCD. I need to get it clean. So I hope all of you are doing well. And I don't think I'm going to give readings. I just want to talk about that article that I posted. I don't have access to my student portal, like my school library, because the class is not active yet for Purdue University Global. It's my third master's I'm starting in March. Anyway, but just trust me on this because you know me. I'm a researcher, a hardcore researcher. I don't say anything unless it's backed up by research. I wouldn't be foolish enough to put myself out there like that. But there's been lots of clinical studies conducted by doctors, different specialty doctors, general practitioners, etc. People that are suffering from cancer, and how introducing introducing refined sugar to the bloodstream makes the cancer cells propagate like crazy, like they start multiplying like crazy. Now I have to use the word correlated, or there's a corollary between the two, because you're really not supposed to say it causes it, because it could be a myriad of things. It could be genetics, could be environment, could be diet, a whole host of things. I get that. So I will say there's a correlation for sure. And they were pretty consistent with these tests, these trials. Turn that down some. These clinical trials, very consistent, where they would show the cancer cells at one stage or one status, and then once they introduce sugar into the bloodstream, then all of a sudden it would change, start multiplying. It's crazy. But we all know, I mean, yes, I still have to say correlated anyway. But we all know, though, for the most part, those that are not in denial, that sugar has a lot of toxic effects on the body, right? It's a lot of detrimental things, right? Not just with cancer, but there's correlations between sinus infections, sinusitis, the bacteria feeding off of the sugar, a whole bunch of different stuff, right? It's just not good for you, even though it's hard to avoid because it's highly addictive. I'll tell you something else too. That video that I mentioned on my post on YouTube, there's a video on YouTube, and I think it was maybe 10 years ago. I think it's like 10 years ago. And it had millions of views, like literally millions of views and thousands of comments about all these things that people were, confirming from their own family history, their medical history, whatever. And it was garnering so much attention that eventually they removed the video. Now, why would you do that? And these are like several doctors that were conducting all of these medical trials. So it's not like, oh, it's an anomaly, it's a little fluke. No, they were consistent across the board and had, I guess you'd call it, well, they may have been single subject designs or random sampling. I don't remember the actual design, but I'll tell you one thing is that they had several patients that had various stages of cancer. Stage 1, stage 2, 3, 4, all these different stages, right? And once they introduce sugar, glucose to the bloodstream, all of a sudden the cancer cells reacted to it and they start to multiply. Isn't that crazy? Well, anyway, like I said, they had all these views and all of a sudden they took the video down. And this just what Spirit tells me, and I believe it. I don't believe there was any kind of like copyright infringements. No, I believe the reason why that video was taken down is because if millions of people are, learning about sugar, I'm not going to say they're going to give it up altogether, but they may reduce their consumption, their intake. And so, you know what that means? If there's a reduction in consuming edibles and potables that are riddled with sugar, that's going to hit all of these major industries, right? Especially the sugar industry. So I just found that really interesting because, in this country, unfortunately, there's a lot of double talking, right? A lot of times you hear professionals say, oh, we're trying to do things to promote a salubrious lifestyle, eating healthy, working out, all these great things. But at the same time, you're in the hospital battling cancer and they give you things that have sugar in it. Like, you know, like, I'm just telling you, this country is something else. Now, again, there are some amazing doctors and nurses that truly do care about the well-being and welfare of their patients and clients. Yes, they do exist. But the thing is, you got to kind of sift through all of them and find out which ones are legit and which ones are the polar opposite, right? But I just find it, don't you just find it strange that the video just inexplicably disappeared? Like, without a trace. There was no follow-up videos like, oh, this video was taken down because of ABC. No, nothing. It's like it never existed. Whew, man, I'll tell you. But like I said, is this country, there's a lot of double talking. They try to promote good health, but at the same time be unaliving you, because I can't use the K word, but they be unaliving you at the same time. I'm telling you, it's quite scary, and it's sad and disappointing that you have people that are preaching, oh, you know, I want you to live healthy and promote good health and all this stuff, and at the same time, all their actions contradict what they're preaching. You know, it's pretty freaking sad. But I wanted to share that with you. So years ago, I used to get these sinus infections like every other month. Like, it was so frequent. And I remember my allergist, out of all my doctors, she's the only one that was correct. I kept developing these stupid sinus infections. And this is when I lived in North Carolina. And my doctor was asking me, my allergist, like, what is your diet like? And I was like, well, you know, I'll be honest with you. I'm not proud to say this, but because I had a very stressful job, I would eat like, you know, 2 donuts a day, even though that's not healthy. I should know better, right? Well, I did. And I kept developing these sinus infections. So my doctor's like, okay, Miles, I know you're going to hate me, but you're going to go 6 months eating no sugar at all. Not like fresh fruits and vegetables, but processed sugar. You know, that fine, what do you call it, processed sugar. Anyway, the refined sugar. I was like, okay. And it was hard as hell. 6 months. I stuck to it because, you know, I wanted to see what was causing these, or what was correlated to my sinus infections. Not one sinus infection. I tell the story all the time because it actually happened. And then it was around the time, like Father's Day, and my daughter at the time made me this huge chocolate chip cookie. And I couldn't say no because it was for Father's Day and she made it for me, right? The next day, a wicked sinus infection. I could not make this up. Yeah, 6 months I went straight, clean, no sinus infection. As soon as I had that cookie, bam. And that, I kind of felt like that sinus infection made up for all the times that I was, I guess, supposed to have one and didn't develop one because of my restricted diet, or I should say my smart diet. But yeah, it's true. And I remember a pediatrician, I won't say his name, would give me a lot of shit here in Rochester when I kept explaining, I believe, even though I'm not a doctor, but according to my allergist, and I even tried it myself, and it did work. I tried to explain to him that our daughter was developing a lot of sinus infections because I believe it's because of her diet. She was consuming a lot of sugar, and he didn't want to hear any of that, right? And he kept saying, trying to like downplay. You know, sometimes doctors try to dismiss and downplay someone else because it doesn't align up with them. And somebody can say, oh, well, you're doing the same thing. You're dismissing him because it doesn't align up with you. But mine was an actual trial, though. You know what I mean? Like a test retest. And Milan's my daughter. She's part of me. So why wouldn't you want to at least try it or entertain it? Let's go 3 months without, no. Totally shot down what I said. Even though I had all this research, he didn't want to hear anything. Of course, my ex-wife sided with him because it was coming from me, so she didn't want to believe anything. And now we're seeing all this research that was confirming what I've been saying for years, that there is a correlation between refined sugar, processed sugar, tumors, cancer, propagation of cancer. Now, I'm not talking about in terms of causing it, like if there's a correlation to the cause of sugar. I don't know about that. There may be, I'm not sure. But I'm talking about in terms of it not helping, making matters worse, right? Yes, there's a lot of research that supports it now. Empirical research. Same thing with sinus infections. And all these years, my ex-wife and that foolish doctor was giving me a bunch of SHIT, and in fact, it is true. So anyway, this is why I say sometimes doctors be full of shit. I do respect a lot of doctors and nurses, but there's some that are full of SHIT. You know, all they care about is your money. Keep your kids sick. They act like, oh, we're so concerned about your kids, but you're not really encouraging the kids or the parents to espouse a healthy lifestyle so the kids can make less doctor visits. No, you very rarely hear that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you rarely hear that. All they want to do is keep you medicated. These big pharma, right? Keep you medicated so they keep making that money. Send all their kids to college and, you know, pay for these expensive weddings and palatial homes and expensive cars for their own while your kid's in the hospital sick and suffering. Just telling you. Oh, I always tell people it's up to you. I'm a Socratic thinker. I like to think outside the box. If you don't want to believe it, it's your choice. But I just know certain things, not just as a reader, just as a lived experience. I'm telling you, a lot of these doctors and nurses don't give two shits about people. All they do is care about keeping you sick, keeping you medicated, and spending that money. Because the more money they get. And perks and all sorts of stuff. Some doctors even get kickbacks. You know what I mean? Like breaking Stark laws. That's a whole nother topic. Anyway, but listen, God bless, take care, and stay safe.